Is there any adjustments to the agenda?
I have some, Molly.
Jason, go ahead.
Molly, I'd like to add 2 adjustments. One, I'd like to, I'm not sure exactly where to put this, but I'd like to add a vote for the homecoming, this upcoming homecoming dance this Saturday, I believe. I'd like to make that an action item. And my second one is the HVAC, the buildings and grounds. I'd like to get the process going sooner rather than later with that, so I don't want to delay it another month. I'd like to discuss it, make it an action item, and move forward as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to put homecoming under new business, be 8A. And HVAC, I think we'll be able to cover that in the principal's report and in the building and grounds update. So we'll make sure we cover that under building and grounds update on C1. I'll just make sure I have that in there.
Thank you.
It was on there anyway, so. All right, communication and public comments. Have I got any public that would like to speak? Is there any public in your room, John?
No, I don't see any. Other than our camera. Our cameraman.
Right.
No
Point of
comment.
order, Molly, did you skip the minutes?
Oh, yep, I did. Okay. Let's review and approve board. I told you I was on vacation mode. Review and approve board minutes of July 26.
So moved.
Jack moved them.
Margot seconded.
There you go.
Margot second.
I just have a correction.
Yes,
We have a
Brenda.
I was present. I was cited in it for voting and director's comment, but not in present. Yeah, you're at the top. There it is. Okay. Okay, never mind.
Okay, so
She's there. I'm there.
any other corrections?
I haven't gotten through them.
Okay, we're gonna roll call. All those in favor of approving the minutes for July 26th? Deb,
Aye.
Jack,
As amended, aye.
Ian,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Priscilla,
Aye.
Brenda,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Margot.
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes have been approved as amended for July 26th.
Madam
we
Chair,
are-
there is someone with their hands up, perhaps under public comments. I just thought it'd be worth noting. Maureen Parker.
Thank you. So we're on communication public comments now, and we got Maureen, please.
Hi, thank you. I am a taxpayer, I'm a teacher, and I'm a parent. I had some concerns that were said at the WNESU board talking about the mandatory vaccine. So there's a couple statements that I would like to talk about. A board member asked, what happens if a teacher has risky behavior in getting COVID? So I would like clarification of what risky behavior is. Another question that I have is, if a teacher catches COVID at school, is that a workman's comp claim? What happens if that teacher catches long haul COVID? If a teacher is really sick with COVID, what is the policy about teaching from home? And if the teacher needs to teach from home, is there any compensation for that teacher's use of internet at home. Because in 2020, when most of us were remote, there was no compensation. October 4th is the mask when you're going to decide if it is okay to wear a mask in our schools or not. I have a question that if you're asking everyone to get vaccinated, is it an unsafe workplace work environment if not everyone in our building is vaccinated, according to the CDC? You talk about having the MOU that the teachers presented as taking too long. I just also want to indicate that the teachers are working without a contract again. We worked all last year without a contract until the last maybe 2 weeks. So I want the public to be aware of that. And then my third question or concern is because a lot of the teachers were vaccinated early on and the CDC is asking for a booster. If you have a mandatory vaccine mandate, are you going to require the teachers to get a booster? I appreciate you all serving on the board, but these are questions or concerns that I have as a parent and as a taxpayer and as an educator. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Any other hands up?
I see.
I don't see any.
That's
Yeah.
Yep,
Maureen.
go ahead.
That's Maureen still.
That's just Maureen.
Maureen's still there.
I will put it
Okay.
back down.
Thank you. All right, so now we're going to move on to policies. And I would like Priscilla to speak on the McKinney-Vento adoption of policy.
The McKinney-Vento is a policy that covers homeless, and we actually did the first reading at the July 26th meeting. So I'm not sure we have done the second reading. Molly, when did you see a second reading?
So we had already approved it for first read, and now we are here to adopt it. So can I have a motion to adopt
We
it?
did two readings and then adoption.
Right.
And
maybe-
haven't we had 2 readings already or just one?
That's what I'm asking.
Well, there's a motion to adopt the second reading on the August 23rd minutes.
August 23rd, okay.
Yeah.
We don't have,
Perfect.
that's what I thought maybe, but I wanted to confirm it. So I would make a motion that we adopt the McKinney-Vento policy. We've done the first reading and the second reading and should be ready to adopt it. It serves our homeless population and takes care of them in case we have students that need to be covered, and so that they can attend school under a slightly different program or policy than some of our other students as far as transferring from one school to another.
Okay, can I get someone to second that, please?
We actually don't need a second, Molly. We're under,
I know, so my understanding was I thought I had to for policy, but if I don't, that's fine. Is there any questions on this? Doesn't appear to be none. So let's roll call. Deb, yes or no to adopt McKinney-Vento policy?
Yes. Aye.
Jack?
Yep.
Ian?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Priscilla?
yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Margot?
Yes.
Priscilla, do you have a next policy meeting date?
I'm looking at the possibility of October 12th, but I haven't confirmed it with my members yet. So that's what I'm looking at as a possibility.
And if it's October 12th, when and where?
What time?
5:30.
Where?
super.
Yeah.
The central office.
Is that too late? You want it earlier? You want
No,
5?
no, I just,
I was looking at 5:30 because I think some of our members have trouble getting there for 5.
Your daughter.
I do. I can't get there before 5:30.
On Facebook, on FaceTime, like 2 seconds.
Okay, so we have a tentative date of October 12th at 5:30 central office for the next policy meeting. And so we're gonna move on to principal reports.
Okay, I did share my report with all board members, but for the viewing audience, I'd like to go through it if you don't mind, if everyone can bear with me. Our fall sports are well underway now, and they're doing very well. Football is undefeated, field hockey are undefeated. Girls soccer have won 1, lost 6. Boys are 0-4, but getting better every moment. Cross country has had 3 meets, and we've done well in each one of those with our small team we have running. So the sports are off to a good start. Kids are doing well. Coaches are doing well. Everybody's having a good time, working hard, and success is coming pretty well. Next, point number 2, NEAS, our New England Association of Schools and Colleges collaborative conference visit is coming up in November. Our collaborative conference is now with the new standards that New England Association have put out. They do this conference, which is a kind of preview to your decennial visit. So they'll come out 2 years before they do the decennial visit, and they do a kind of mini visit and a mini report. And there's items around our self-report, around the 5 standards, and they will tell us how we're doing. They'll make recommendations, and that kind of gives us a better guidance for our decennial visit. So when they come in the fall of 2023 for our decennial accreditation, we'll be hopefully in a top-notch place. We're in a pretty good spot right now. And what I mean by pretty good is there's a lot of good things going on. The new standards are heavily focused on teaching and learning and student performance. We're coming off the pandemic and back into recovery of learning, and students are working well to recover that I've seen and listened to staff in our building. A lot of extra help. A lot of kids coming in the morning, staying after school, inquiring in between times, visiting with teachers and getting as much help as they can. That's what I've observed in the school days that we've had so far. That's very, very healthy. When they come, they'll visit our school on November 15th and 16th. They will interview a lot of groups. So I'll be on the lookout for a parent group, definitely. Part of their visit, it does involve meeting with parents, students, staff, and some members of the board. So again, board members, I'd like a small group of, if you're available to meet with them when they're here. They'd like to meet with central office staff. So Flora, if you could help us with that and provide maybe yourself and one other, or whoever's available for me. They just want to talk and find everything that's going on with us. They'll meet with the administration. So Andy, if you're available for Sean, you and myself to maybe meet with them.
We'll work on an itinerary.
Yeah, I've already started planning it. Okay. So, yep. And then we'll work on any recommendations prior to the decennial visit in the fall of 2023. So that's our update on the ask. As I say, I feel we're in a very good place. Our self-report is 95% done. I'm hoping by October we'll finish it off and be able to have a good read for our committee that's coming. Nurses have been busy. I know there's a lot of nurses, especially the Springfield nurse must be very busy these days. There's a lot of COVID cases, a lot of student time missed in school. We're continuing in our school to follow the state guidelines. as we deal with each case, identifying contacts and vaccination status. And our status is, I've shared it with our board members, but again, it is a moving target all the time, because figures will change as people get vaccinated, as we get information about vaccination or not. I really don't think it's about, personally, for our school building, it's not about reaching the 80% threshold, because I really don't believe that once you reach the 80%, we should just throw away the mask, because we're still in a very difficult time for controlling this disease. I guess I won't totally make that decision, but certainly I feel strongly that it's not about getting to 80%. However, the vaccination status does make a huge difference. And it's not whether it's not equal or not fair, but by the guidelines, if vaccination status is known, it makes a big difference on your time out of school or not out of school. So there are documents there, and I'd be happy to talk to any parent that would like to get in touch with me. I can speak and provide you with as much information as possible, because I know we're all learning every day. We watch it every day in school. Mr. Murphy and I, we talk every day about this, and that's no lie. Homecoming. We have a homecoming dance. Student Council have worked hard to set up a homecoming dance. Our dance will be outside, and it will be for BFUHS students only. And that was a decision that was made internally, because that's where it should be made. It's made from the school. It's not part of policy. It's not part of procedure. It's a dance by students, for students, with a coordinator organizing them. I think being only BFUHS, there have been, Mr. Obius let me know, there's been a few students, one or two, maybe three, that were a little bit disappointed at not being able to bring their significant other from another school or town. But today I have not had any parent contact me to let me know that they have a concern about this issue. I think the dance is very important for our kids, for their mental health and for their morale. I can use one example at a girls' soccer game on Saturday. The girls were very excited because their Windsor game for homecoming weekend was moved to Friday, because they couldn't wait on Saturday to go and get their nails done, their hair done, get their dress ready, and get all ready for the evening. That's phenomenal. And they're excited and smiling and happy about it. So that's what I want for our kids. They need that motivation. They need that feel-good moment. So I hope that it'll come off well, and it'll be fun outside. And having done many of these homecoming dances, more than I want to count, one of the big things for us is kids wanting to go outside when they're inside at the dance. So now we've kind of answered that. We're giving them all outside. So it should be a load of fun, I hope. Lunch in the cafeteria. We began having lunch in the cafeteria on Monday, 9/20, that was last Monday. We had our new tables out that Hardley managed to secure for us, our picnic tables in both sides of the cafeteria. Students were very, again, motivated and feeling happy about being able to have lunch in the cafeteria. What Mr. Murphy and I set up, he's our technology guru. We set up a QR code and table number on each table. And when a student sits at that table, all they do is they take their phone or their laptop, which they usually have one or both, and they can scan it or type it in, and then they put the table number. So for any contact tracing, we've got a good idea. If anything goes wrong, anything happens, if anyone comes down ill, we have a fairly good system to get on it pretty quickly. And from what I've seen in the cafeteria and what I've heard from the kitchen, kids are now beginning to eat even more than they were in the classroom. It started slow, but they're going bananas now, excuse the pun. And it's really going well. The kitchen are very, very happy about the way it is right now. So, buildings and grounds, we met on the 16th. We did a walkthrough, and it was almost 2 hours. It was really thorough. And we looked everywhere, or pretty much everywhere. And the main focus for now, as Jason said earlier, is to focus on the HVAC. But we did look at, we went up tennis courts, track, we talked about irrigation, we talked about the auditorium seating, we talked about the driveway and renovations of that. We talked about the fascia of the building and how we can improve the looks of that. Really did a fairly good root canal on everything that we need done. And we have another meeting on Thursday that my hope is that we will get together and start formulating plans on how we're going to put this all together, and how we're going to finance things appropriately and move forward and make our school the best it can be, not just for the kids, not just for the families, but it also looks good too. So, and Molly will follow up a little bit on that in her policy report, or her, committee report shortly following this. Our arts program, I was asked for a quick update. The arts have taken a huge hit in COVID, and we have two fantastic people, Mr. Smith and Mr. Pelton, who are working, I think they're working 24 hours a day. I don't know how they do it. They're trying to get as many kids back into the arts. Mr. Smith is working individually with kids on vocal, as well as his chorus and his class. Mr. Pelton is doing all sorts of individual work coupled with, he's developed a modern band, which is getting a lot more kids back into guitar, keyboards, drums, any type of percussion. I have watched a few of his lessons, and the kids are really motivated and getting back into it, which is a good thing to see. Fortunately, the weather's still pretty good, so any individual work, he's also been able to take kids out under the tent at the back to keep it as safe as we can keep it. So, where are we? On a band. Yeah. And then we have band performances again. I'll make sure we get this on our website for any members of the public to see, where we've got our full list for the year of band performances. Although I think some of the major performances, committees above us have made decisions as to whether or not they're going to continue this year, or whether it's going to be, part of it is remote. We're not totally sure on the whole year yet, though, so more to follow on that. And lastly, for me, sorry for being long, but October 13th, we've had in the past, it's called our College and Career Awareness. And prior to COVID, we would take freshmen out on a college visit to let them begin with the end in mind and see what that entails. We used to go to Castleton, and hopefully we're going to get back into that maybe next year. We would give the PSATs to sophomores and juniors, and we would couple that with a trip up to the RVTC or down to Brattleboro to show them what is on offer career-wise and skill-wise, and what they still have time that they can participate in. Seniors would normally work on senior projects. They would go on college visits. They would work on the Common App. They could come in and spend time with their counselors. This year, we're trying to work on the same theme with some of the barriers in place. Our hope is that our seniors, we have, I believe, between 20 and 30 seniors are actually taking the SATs. we were able to, through the College Board, because we're at the moment not in a good place to do the public SATs where we have everyone from all over coming to our building, we are able to offer them just to our students in this building. And the 13th is one of those days that I believe 20 to 30 of our seniors are taking advantage of those. And we're also going to offer a workshop day for senior project, where we're going to have 4 or 5 teachers that will be available to begin work with kids and their senior projects, whether it's on the second part of phase 1 or whether they're actually diving in and beginning writing the paper. And hopefully that'll help them get a head start, get ahead of it, understand what they're doing, and feel more confident to get those finished. And lastly, we thought we'd take advantage of this time, rather than chopping up a couple of days, to have our freshmen do their MAPS testing. MAPS testing is it's a district-wide initiative where all our kids take the MAPS test, and it shows or it records their performance and how well they do in math, ELA, and we do that 3 times throughout this year. So this would be the first time, second time mid-year, and then at the end, maybe in May at some time, just to measure our kids' progress and see how well they're doing. So we thought it'd be good for them to be able to take that on that day as well. And we can utilize faculty very well to do all these things that we want to do without disrupting like a few days as we normally would. We can do a one day for everybody and get a lot out of it. And then in the afternoon, if we making that an early release day in the afternoon, I'd like all our teachers in their groups, their 5 groups, to work on completing then the NIASC reports and having them totally done, so that I can then send it off to NIASC, and that will give them the 4 or 5 weeks to read through them, giving them plenty of time for our visit. So that's all I have. I know it was a lot. I say all, but it was a lot. So,
Molly, I have
Thank
a
you.
question.
Go ahead.
John,
yes.
what is the percentage of teachers vaccinated and the percentage of students vaccinated?
Okay, the percentage that we have right now working with our nurse and working in the building on a verbal commitment, we have 96% of our teachers vaccinated. That's not producing the cards, that's on a verbal. And I have sent out a Google form for parents to respond to simple question, name of child, are they vaccinated? Yes, no, or prefer not to answer. And if they are vaccinated, we've asked them to upload their card to show us that is the symbol of proof that you are vaccinated, not saying that we don't believe them. And our current percentage of kids at last looking was just under 22%, 22%. But again, that counts, that takes it the way the state are asking us to do it. Total number of kids on cards divided by our population of 312.
John, how come there's not a similar card standard for teachers and staff?
Good question. Good question.
Ollie, could I enter on that?
Yes.
So, David, one of the things we've done since the Rockingham motion is we've put out in a Google form for staff to be able to put their name and then upload a picture of their thing, which would meet the requirement of notifying administration. We put that out even though we don't need it until October 8th, and I think when we checked, Ricky, we had about 110-ish, just around 110 employees, and that was just put out on Friday.
That's
So
high school employees?
that is overall school employees or SU employees. So what we can do is we can sort that out by building, and then we can follow up with administration.
And I think David as well, sorry, just to follow on, I do realize that the hardest part is following up all the time, following up with everyone, and some parents might not want to fill it out at all. I have sent ours out twice, and I'm going to continue to beat the drum until we try and get a final number, and I'm okay with doing that because, as I said earlier, I think it's not about reaching the 80%, and this is what is very important for me. It's the amount of time kids will have in school, and that's a difference, and it's not differentiation. It's all personal choice, but I want kids here. I want them here often. I don't want them out on a 10-day hiatus that they don't need to be out on. But again, I don't get to make that decision, but I'm going to keep persistent, and I can give you an update every day if you need one, because they go up slowly. But I think what I have noticed is when I put out the survey again on Friday, we went from 60 to 90. So it's having a little impact. So just keep going. So, yes, Jason.
I have a couple of questions. Andy, did you say that we have 110 employees at the high school?
No, so thank you, so I can clarify that. So we have 110 staff members across the SU have responded to the request to upload their vaccination card. And I just checked, there's 25 current in that system, 25 of them are high school teachers.
So we have 25
Or
employees?
25 staff members. pardon me.
75, so about 33%.
So you're at about 33% have responded right now, but they're
Of
not
that
under a
96%
mandate.
of that 96% are vaccinated.
So the 96% is a verbal that was asked last year, this year, at the beginning. Currently, 25 staff members have uploaded their vaccination card of all the employees that work at the high school.
So how many employees do we have at the high school?
75.
Total?
Approximately.
Custodians, all that?
That's your
Thank
age, your maintenance, everything.
And we asked everyone, right? Parents, custodians?
Yes,
Not just teachers?
my email went out to everybody.
Okay, that's a couple other questions. So I have that document here. So that's 66, we received 66 cards. That's what it says as of 9/24, 21.2%. Mr. Murphy, if you could indulge me, can you help me with the math on this? So that means that there's 14 of the 66 responded back saying, yes, my kid is vaccinated, or go pound sand, I'm not telling you, correct?
Well, there's 66, I'm looking at the folder right now, there's, of the people that responded, 66 people uploaded cards. So we could have had 100% say yes, but we can't count them unless we have their card. So we have 66, or there might be a few more now, cards out of our 312 students.
So, okay, so we have 312 students. 66 people said that they,
66 people provided cards as proof that they're vaccinated.
what is the percentage of that?
21%.
All right, because I was looking at, I read that as only 66 people responded, and that means only 14 came in. That's not accurate?
Right, it was 66, I'm not sure how many people responded, but 66 cards are in our folder of cards.
Okay, so
And-
did we
And as
get,
of now, it's 68, so we've gone up to,
did we get 312 responses?
no,
What is
90
the,
94. 94 responses so far today,
okay, so that's a third.
but we're not stopping. We're going to keep going.
So what is the plan to get more responses, and what is the marketing strategy to encourage families to send it in? Because there's obviously a reason that they're just like, I'm not telling you. I mean, that's my belief, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Maybe.
What is the marketing strategy behind getting more, other than please send it in?
No, certainly.
Can I add to that? Are you using the new incentive from the state of the bonuses and money that's going to come and for students to help with programs and stuff if they turn in vaccination cards and such?
That's a good point.
percentages?
No, that was purely an email sent out by me with a letter asking for this information. So
other than that, is there any other strategy? Do we have signs posted that, anything that says, hey, this is our goal, and anything? I mean, is there a strategy at all? I'm just wondering.
not at the moment, other than what we started with. And I'm open to, as I say, I'm open to, I'd like to know everyone's status if we can.
I think it's going to be awfully tough because the vaccine's been out for a while now, so people are either going to get it or not get it, and that's where they're at. So it's going to be hard to sway them, whatever your personal feelings are. So 312 students, 66 have responded, 94 responses.
68 have now uploaded their cards.
Okay. And you guys are going to work on a strategy to
Yes.
to move that along.
Yeah, and I'll keep that tally going so you can check it.
I just have one last question. If you get to 100%, every student is vaccinated, will you then feel comfortable of taking the mask off?
Me personally, or for the school?
I think we have to wait and see where we're at. I think that's a question that we can't ask that.
The question for the nurses, for me. If the nurse would be comfortable with that, they're certified medical.
Is Whitney online?
Well, it all,
Yeah, right there.
John, won't it also depend on where we're at with COVID at that time too? I mean, there's
That's
some
right.
factors.
I would feel very good if we were 100%, because then I would know that if there were anything going on, that kids would not lose any time out of school.
You have a very hard job, and I don't envy it. You too, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Hosh, you signed up for it. Just kidding. So I just want to ask about.
Jack, you're up.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt this interrogatory, but I did have a question for Mr. Broadway. John, you said that no parents had come to you about this. It's not the prom this time. It's homecoming. Am I right on that?
Yeah.
I had a couple. Just to let you know, and I never get this stuff because everybody knows this is not an area I care much, normally care that much about. But I did hear fairly impassioned from a couple of kids and from a parent or two. I would wonder, and I'm not going to tell you to change your policy here, but it seems to me that this would be a great opportunity to encourage, if people have dates from outside the school, to encourage them to bring dates that are vaccinated. We kill two birds with one stone, where we're encouraging vaccination and we're allowing kids to bring folks from outside the school, because actually a lot of the schools around here are reporting vaccination rates a whole lot higher than 20-odd%. And if anything, I think it would be a means to encourage people to get vaccinated and increase the health and safety of our kids rather than put them at risk. Like I said, normally don't care, but I got some teenagers who work locally who care a whole lot and made sure I knew about it. So just passing that on.
Thank you.
Molly?
Yes, Priscilla.
Okay, I have just a couple of things. What do you do for a rain date? Or are you just covered with a tent?
It'll be cancelled, and we won't have that, because we, apart from the deposit for the disc jockey, everything else is, we own everything else. So it's not gonna be a big impact. Kids are gonna pay. In fact, that was one of the questions today that I put over announcements, because kids have been asking. Kids will be paying as they come, because we don't want to get involved in refunds and whatever in case it is canceled. Although the forecast is pretty good.
I like Jack's suggestion about, if they're bringing a vaccinated date, it might be something that you could consider, but, Also, I have a friend who has a huge amount of materials, quilting materials, and some frames. And if you would like those, just please let me know. I told her I would ask. They are selling their home and moving, so she's got a huge leftover from when her mother had them. I think she still has the circular frame and a couple other frames, so if you'll get back to me right
Sure.
away, so I can let her know
I'll talk to Ms.
immediately.
Holmes.
I also have a bunch of music tapes, if the music department is interested, from another friend who was going to actually just dispose of them, so it's another area.
Okay.
Thank you, that was it.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, Mr. Bradley, any other updates?
Not right now.
You were gonna speak on the HVAC. We have it on the building grounds update, but I do think that maybe it'd be good if you, mentioned to everyone what you wanted. You spoke to me today about,
Sure.
wanting to get going on that. So why don't you?
What I'd like to have us propose is me to work to get the spec bids going, so that we can get all the stuff we need to do based on the M&E report and our engineer, and get the heads together, get a good bid spec so we can get it ready to go out. Because that will take a little bit of time. I'm still hopeful that we'll get some ESSA money to complete our project on HVAC and be a very healthy school in HVAC land. So that's what I'd like to ask, is if the board could certainly give me a motion to start working on getting the bid specs for the HVAC. As well as that, I would love getting bids for the driveway and the auditorium seating. That might be a bit greedy, but I'm going to ask anyway. So, thank you. Is that what, Molly?
I would like to at least have a motion to approve HVAC. And we all know how Molly feels about the driveway, but let's try to get this HVAC thing taken care of.
Molly, I would make a motion that we look into getting HVAC bids, including the air conditioning.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, we have an open new business item, and I'm thinking that one of the things that isn't on it is sort of just generalized budget discussion, similar to what we just had at the elementary schools. And I'm wondering if, people can put together a list, if we could spend 5 minutes on that blank item, just sort of identifying things that people believe are really important to them with budgetary implications, so we can start to put a footprint down in terms of what we care about and what we don't. We'll try to keep it like a 10-15 minute tops.
Okay, but we're trying to get a motion as for the HVAC system right now.
No, I hear you. I think in isolation, it feels a little, I support the idea. I just think that we ought to focus more broadly. That's all. I'll defer to you on this.
So I believe that by getting involved in the Building Grounds Committee, that we have some real issues with our HVAC system. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize what was really going on until I spent a few minutes with David Clark, and he has studied it well, and we've got some things that need to get fixed. And it's not a real fun topic because we've spent a lot of money on it. But I do believe that at this point, our next step is to get a bid, get the bid specs, have somebody help us with that, and try to find out what it's gonna cost to get this school where it needs to be. Am I misled on that, David Clark?
Molly, I completely agree with you. I think Priscilla put a motion on the floor, which was essentially to direct John to get bid specs assembled.
So, okay, so I haven't missed anything. We have a motion on the floor to allow Mr. Broadley to start getting big bid specs, including air conditioning units for the high school. Is there any discussion? I see none. Deb, yay or nay?
It's only for bids, so it still comes back to us at some point, so I'll say yay.
That's right. Jack,
Yay.
Ian,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Priscilla,
Yes.
Brenda,
Yes.
Jason,
Absolutely.
Margot.
Yes.
Okay. All right, John, you got it.
Thank
I
you.
think that if you can, take a little time and, use all your resources, because let's not have to do this again in 2 more years.
Nope.
So, Mr. Broadley, are you all set? Principal's report? We've covered everything you want to cover?
That's great. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, business office. Mr. Hawes, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I don't at this time.
Is your report gonna be, is it online like your predecessor was?
I did not know he did that. I will make that online and, yes, we can make that.
Because if you have your report at the WNSU meeting and then it's online so anyone else can read it that doesn't log on, I don't think you have to repeat it at every school board meeting. Unless another board member disagrees with that.
Molly, I like to have it open though for questions, on it, maybe at the regular board meetings, so that it could be on there just for opening up questions if we're not getting a full report, which I understand sometimes it's long.
Okay. Yeah, we'll always ask him. We'll always have him here but that's good. Committees, building and grounds update. So John covered that fairly well already. We got together, we walked most of the grounds and into the buildings, found some nooks and crannies that probably some people didn't know we had. There's a lot to do. If we were, to win a lot of money, then probably we would really, have an opportunity to really do some things. We are meeting again this Thursday. We had a report given to us. It was huge. And I asked to be able to digest it a little bit before we had our next meeting. So we bumped it to 2 weeks. Most of that is on the HVAC system. I'm sure there'll be some more questions Thursday. And I think right now that's what we are trying to really focus on, is getting that taken care of. There's a lot of things that, as we walk through, everybody has a different approach to how they'd like to do things, but I'm a believer of, just because you're not on the building and grounds committee, if there's something that you drive through that school and you see something every time, you think, why haven't we done that? Then bring it to our attention. Because everybody looks at things differently and has different priorities. And, really it's all of us. So even though, we're not all at a building and grounds committee meeting, it all comes to you guys for us to do anything. But if there's something, aching at you, please don't hesitate to contact any of us, myself, Jason, Margot. I'm missing my other one. David Clark was there. He certainly, you could approach him. I think he's there for trying to help us with the HVAC. But send me an email if you got something you're looking for. Anybody have any questions? I see none. So we are going to move to unfinished business for discussion of COVID safety protocols. Nurse, hopefully we have a nurse here, and we're gonna talk about mask mandate after 10 days. Whitney, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, would you like to speak to this?
Well, I can speak to a couple of different things. First of all, I was just sitting here crunching some numbers, waiting for everything to kind of start up. And right now, if my numbers are correct, I am looking at least 150 student days missed due to COVID right now. And that includes, I'm trying to, hold on, I'm looking at two different screens here. I've got.
Whitney, is that for this year?
That's just for the last 3 weeks, yeah. Up to and including today. That includes at least 47 individual cases of students and faculty and staff. And granted, some of those are vaccinated. Majority of them are not. Obviously, the majority of missed days are by unvaccinated folks. And that's crazy to me. We've been in school for, there's what, 15, 16 school days on the calendar, and we've got 150 missed student days just at the high school alone. What I am struggling with right now, I mean, there's a bunch of things that I'm struggling with right now. The students have been great as far as I don't know. Is it somebody's birthday? What's going on? I don't know.
The field hockey girls.
Oh, well, oh, good job, girls. Yes, I heard they won like at the very end. Nice work. What I'm struggling with right now with the whole COVID situation, with the masking with the students, 99% of the time, the students are fine with the masking. They are used to the rules. They follow the rules. They are compliant. You see them once in a while with it hanging off their ear or down under their nose and something. You give them a quick reminder. They are fine to put it back up, and they don't give you a whole lot of lip, in regards to, the rule. Where we are struggling, I think, is not so much just the masking, but people basically just using common sense. And I hate to say this, but it's really where we're struggling right now. And in school is not necessarily the problem. It's the variables that we don't have any control over, and it's outside of school and not school sponsored activities. It's, people going to visit friends or people visiting families. And I mean, we were talking about risky behaviors earlier, and there's, we're struggling with some of the stories we're hearing through the office. And what I don't think the public understands, and at this point, my husband made a great point that I think he's right. I think the public is just so sick of dealing with this as much as we are, is that everybody's basically level of caring about, public safety and following the rules is just, everybody's frustrated, they're tired, they're sick of following the rules, and we get it. But I don't think people really understand the level of impact that has on our school communities. And, as far as masking goes, we were talking about, trying to reach 100% of, vaccination rate to take off these masks. Good, bad, or in between. Do the masks help? Probably. You read 17 different articles and they'll tell you 17 different things. And let's face it, if you search hard enough, you can find the answer that you are looking for online, as far as the, benefit of the masks. But, where I really don't want people to take these masks off, because I think we're having a hard enough time corralling folks and getting them to follow the rules as it is, whether it's, in school or out of school, distancing, not distancing, and, even just coming to school sick. I mean, God, I send at least a couple of people home a day that just come to school not feeling well before they even leave the house. And, I feel like, we're never going to reach that 100%. people have different, you know, thoughts, views, beliefs, whatever. Health reasons that they can't get it, fine. Do what you do. You do you, you know, stay in your lane, do what you got to do for you. But I think even if we reach that, you know, magic number and take off these masks, we are just opening up the floodgates. I am struggling to keep my head above water right now. And my concern as a nurse taking care of your kids, these are your children that we are taking care of. We're going to miss something, and something bad's going to happen because we've got our heads so far buried in the sand dealing with this garbage. Something bad's going to happen, and it frightens me. And I don't understand why we are still having this conversation when we really should just be, you know, these are our kids we're talking about, guys. Like, I can't understand why we don't want to do anything and everything we can to keep everyone in our buildings as safe as we possibly can. I'm really just struggling with this. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm struggling with it. So as far as my opinion goes, I don't care what number we get to. I want to keep the masks. I want to continue following the protocols that we're following, because I really think, you know, I look at Springfield. We are dangerously headed to a place that we don't want to go. And I mean, I love my children, but you know, thinking of another 6 months on Zoom at home and trying to do my job from home I'm struggling with even just the thought of that. And I know, you know, everybody's busting their butts to do the best they can with where we are right now. And I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. And I'm feeling like a lot of the decisions to reach this 80% to take off the masks is based on adults and their comfort wearing their masks and their, you know, the point of which they've reached of frustration and of following the rules and wearing the masks. And it's not based on the well-being and the best interest of our students. And that's just my 2 cents. And I really think we'd go in a bad direction if we ask them to remove these, even if we reach that quote magic number.
Whitney, I'd like to ask you a question, and maybe you don't know this answer, but being in the position you are in, I've heard a lot of rumors about Springfield, and they're very, very close to us. What is going on in Springfield? I think I'd just like to let the board hear that.
Springfield has closed temporarily. Their numbers have gotten so high that they have closed. It's a temporary closing. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think at least Desiree is on here. But I believe it's a temporary closing until everybody can get tested, test out, you know, their time, kind of similar to what they did in Grafton. But I mean, these numbers are skyrocketing. And
so you're talking about the high school? In Springfield?
Springfield, yep.
Molly?
Yes.
If I could just interject. So, because I got an email from Zach, the superintendent up there. So they are closed today, and it's kind of a reset day. They have an enormous amount of students out of their middle school. I believe a quarter of the other students was out, and then their numbers just keep going up. So they are using this day to kind of like plan and do those kind of things.
So what happens to our kids that are going to the tech?
The tech is closed today too.
And are those kids having to be tested? Does every kid have to be tested?
No, they're not closed for kids to get tested. They're just closed so that they can figure out how they can address some of the increasing numbers within their community.
If we had known about a close contact in one of the tech programs, they're actually really good about calling us pretty quickly. So as far as I'm aware, we have not had any close contacts in the tech programs.
They have 25% of their entire student body out on quarantine right now.
Jack, I see your hand. I just want to thank Whitney for participating. Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, this is just a question for Whitney. what is your understanding of both the CDC's guidance on schools and masking?
On schools and, well,
Yeah, I mean, what is the best practice at this point? What are the professionals, recommending? I know that the state went with this 80% vaccinated thing over the objection of their medical staff. What is the CDC saying about this? Well, what are they looking? Are they just still 100%? Let's mask until further notice, or did they have some sort of threshold too?
there's definitely some varying opinions.
Yeah,
think
but they had
on
an
the-
official opinion. They had an official posting on this. I just didn't know if you were, the last I saw was still that they were recommending masks.
Correct. Yes.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is, one of the things that I worry about is that, we have a lot of power as boards, but we're not experts. We have power, but part of that power requires some requirement upon us to listen to experts. And the experts are saying that 10 days is not a thing. The experts are saying 80% isn't really a thing. They're saying masking reduces infection by between 40 and 60%, depending on whose study you look at. And I just want us as boards to be humble in terms of what we know. And when we don't know something, use the advice of experts to help us make decisions.
Molly?
I see Ian's hand up.
Thanks, Molly. Whitney, I have a question about how much time you're spending doing contact tracing. I'm wondering, basically, seems like if you've got 150 lost school days, that must mean you're making a whole lot of phone calls. And I'm curious about how you're able to get all that done with all the rest of your duties in a given day.
Thank you, Ian, for bringing that up, because that's the nurses we meet fairly frequently. That's one of the big things that we talk about. Each one of us, I think, there's 7 of us, and each one of us has spent at least one night, if not more, at work until at least 9 o'clock or later, trying to do these contact tracings. We use an app just to kind of keep track of our time that we are not in the building. We're contracted until I think 3:20 in the building, Monday through Friday. I am currently in the last just week. I will bring this up right now on my thing. I'm up to 46 hours outside of school hour time, working on tracing notes, contacting people, providers, contacting people about test results. I did a home food delivery for a parent that couldn't leave because she had 4 small kids at home. We are spending endless hours doing this, and we do it because we have to do it morally, ethically, professionally. We have to do this. This is not paper we're pushing. These are people. I cannot morally and ethically come home, go to bed, knowing that there were 26 people that I didn't call that were potentially close contacts to a kid, that are then bringing something potentially home to their families where there might be somebody immunocompromised at home. That is not right. But it's also not okay that our weekend, we have no weekends anymore. I've been home this afternoon. I spent about an hour with my kids. I whipped them up something quick for dinner, and I've, been on here, on Zoom with you guys, but I was also, crunching numbers before I got on, and I've got, paperwork to go through long into the night after this. Our daily duties, like I said, it scares me, that things are going to get missed because we are so deep into this. I mean, I don't want to speak for all the other nurses, but you know, I don't want to say I'm struggling, but it's to get the things that I need to do on a daily basis. They are being very overshadowed by COVID. You know, I think of, you know, the folks that are down in the elementary school levels. They've got a couple of brand new, you know, fragile diabetics. And those kids need finger sticks at least 4 or 5 times a day, maybe 6 times a day. You add in heat, dehydration, gym, stress, and then somebody slipping them a snack that they're not supposed to have. Those nurses are in those, are basically, you know, part-time to those kids all day long. Add on top of that our regular visits. I mean, I probably get anywhere between 17 to 25, 30 visits a day in and out of the office. And then, you know, on top of the phone calls that we need to make for contact tracing. And I mean, I'm fortunate enough at the high school level to have, you know, a number of students that are vaccinated, which does reduce the amount of legwork that's involved. But beyond me, you know, at the middle school level and the elementary school, I mean, it's astronomical the amount of time that folks need to put in. It's insane. And we are fighting an uphill battle, and we are fighting a fight that we certainly are not winning right now. And like I said, I'm terrified that something very bad is going to happen, because we don't have the time. And I say, you know, is there enough time though? No. I mean, if you added 8 hours on a day, we probably still wouldn't get it done. We're doing the best we can. Most of the parents, you know, tonight I made a phone call right before I got on here to a parent, and she's very understanding. You know, I'm sorry I didn't get to you earlier, but you know, life happened. She's very understanding. But we've had another one of our nurses basically get threatened by a parent, you know, pretty verbally aggressive, being like, I can't believe it took you X number of hours to get in touch with me about my kid possibly being a close contact. And, you know, again, because this is not paper, we're dealing with people. But at the same time, I'm one person. I can only make so many phone calls so quickly. And unfortunately, somebody's got to be at the bottom of the list. And there's nothing we can do about it. We do the best we can with contacting, you know, families via email and robocalls when there's a potential case. Luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had, you know, too many at the high school level. But I mean, there's not enough manpower. And you know, luckily, like I said, most of the families that we're dealing with are very understanding, and they're right on top of it, and they get it. But it stinks when you go home busting your butt so hard and you feel so defeated because you cannot get ahead and you cannot win.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Whitney?
I do.
Molly?
Yes, Priscilla.
Yeah, my heart goes out to the nurses. They have been fantastic in all school areas. I know all the way up through, and the little ones working till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night sometimes. So we just need to be really patient with them. I was wondering whether a motion such as the school and board following the state suggested guidelines for masking. What we did, I'm going to put, if Rockingham did through October 4th, or until changed by the board. That way it just goes on, because the guidelines are supposed to be looked at again. They're going to come out with some new ones on the 4th. So if we had to look at them, we could. But if you put or until changed by the board, then they can be ongoing. And that way they don't just stop at some point until we do, without having to call a meeting immediately to have them go back in, or that we can just go to then. So would you be comfortable with that motion, Whitney? If so, I'll make that motion.
I would be comfortable with that.
Okay, then I would make that motion, Molly.
So you have just made a motion that you're going to change until we change it as board members.
Right, that we follow the state guidelines for masking until changed by the board.
follow state guidelines and masking and until changed by the board.
Right. That way, if all of a sudden the COVID disappears next week, we can come back and we can do something, but.
Good thinking. Is there any questions? Any discussion? John, are you comfortable with that?
Yep, that's very, very reasonable.
Molly, this may be moot now that we have this motion on the table, but I just wanted to ask Whitney, like, you know, there were certainly a lot of different issues that were very important that she brought up in her presentation discussion, and just wondering from her, like, if she has any suggestions on actions or items that would be helpful, either with, I mean, there's the masking that's on the table, which is important, but there's also this other issue of nurses being completely overwhelmed and working way over what they should be. Just wondering what other actions might be recommended.
Whitney, do you have something? There you go.
Thank you. You know, and we go into this profession like doing it because we like taking care of people, and that's
Whitney, we lost you.
Oh, am I there?
Yeah, we got you. You went in this profession to help people, and then we lost you.
Sorry. So that's why we don't go home until we make sure we make contact with all these families. You know, I can't sleep until I know that, you know, these families know what the plan is. But I mean, at some point, you know, I'm a person too, you know, I am a nurse, but you know, I have, believe it or not, I have a little bit of a life outside of here. You know, I've got young kids, and I'm not going to sacrifice, you know, their sports and their athletics and missing school events and stuff for them. And as I said, you know, people in the community have been pretty good about that. But, you know, at some point, you know, what are our expectations? You know, I've got folks, you know, emailing us, you know, emailing me at least personally at, you know, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, wondering what they should do, you know, as either parents or staff members, you know, as far as coming into school. And then maybe, you know, in the middle of trying to get my kids ready and myself ready and trying to get on the way to work on time, I don't see it until I'm at school, you know, and I'm sorry, you know, like, I'm human, you know. Same goes for people, you know, emailing us in the middle of the night about, you know, well, do we get tested? You know, my son was exposed this evening, blah, blah, blah. What's the plan? You know, and we do the best we can to keep up with it. And I'm trying to be better about, you know, putting an auto reply on at night that I will get back to people in the morning and shutting my phone off at night, because it gets overwhelming and it's not fair to my family either. One of the suggestions that somebody had talked about was possibly looking into the idea of a call center for after hours available for the entire SU. So if families, staff have questions, you know, between 4 p.m. and 8 a.m., they can call and at least leave a message or talk to somebody that's familiar with the guidelines and familiar with the plans, you know, and at least get a good plan in place so that they don't feel like they're left hanging until somebody gets to work. Because I've been that parent, you know, with an infant or a young child that doesn't know what to do. God, my kids are 8 and 10, and I'm still that parent sometimes that I don't know what to do. You know, we've all been there. But at some point, you know, my level of oh my gosh, here we go again. It just continues to rise when I open up my, you know, phone, and it just happens to be on my email, and I've got 7 emails and I've left my phone down for an hour. And, you know, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and I'm just trying to relax and go to bed. So I think, you know, that might be something to even, you know, just maybe entertain. Because the pace that the nurses are at right now is not sustainable. It is absolutely not sustainable. And again, we do not go into this for the money, But I gotta tell you, it's, it's getting to the point where it's so disruptive for our home lives and our family lives that we've got to start thinking what our expectations are, and if our expectations are to be working to the extent that we're working at the pace we're working, we got to talk about compensation for this, because it's getting to that point. Some of the other strategies that we were talking about, I've considered, doing, weekly pieces, just kind of putting myself out there to the community to remind them, hey, guidelines and mandates, from the state, at least mandates. Mandate is a fancy word for almost like a law. Like, so when you are mandated to isolate and mandated to quarantine, you should probably do it, because we're finding a lot of folks in the community that are not doing that. And it's making contact tracing very difficult to nearly impossible in some cases. And again, on that note, that we get it, parents and families are sick of masking and following the rules. But at the same time, if I send your kid home sick and I drive home with and I send them home with the instructions to go home and isolate and quarantine until you can, get test results back. And then I see you hanging out at Athens with 5 other people outside, no masks. What am I doing? This is insanity here, guys. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, trying to get a different result. I am the mayor of crazy town right now. It's not going well. And, and my husband made a good point that, we can remind people, from now until next week that, these are the rules, these are the guidelines, this is what we're recommending. People don't care. They're not listening. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. But we have to continue doing what we're trying to do with the masking and the distancing and things like that in the schools, just to try to keep us safe. But as far as, other strategies, I am open. I am wide open for whatever you think may help.
Thank you. Jack, I see you, but Jason has had his hand up. So Jason.
Madam Chair, can we call the question? Good God.
The question's been called.
Yes.
That was what I was going to do. Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor to follow state guidelines in masking until changed by the board. We'll take a roll call. Deb?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Ian?
Yes.
David?
Aye.
Priscilla?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Jason?
Yes.
Margot?
Yes.
Motion passes. We're going to follow state guidelines in masking until changed by the board. Um, 7B, fiscal support of multi-district weighting committee. Who's got that?
Well, Molly, you had asked me to get some answers back on whether there is a positive, I guess, recommendation to support the committee. I have queried the state numerous times. I've been on many phone calls with them and whatnot. I've talked to other superintendents, and this weighting study continues to sit in limbo right now. It's my understanding that some of, if not all, the work that happened to get it pushed into that kind of limbo was the weighting, the lobbying that was done. But I'm not intimate with the lobby group. I know David is, but it would seem that if it is working in a positive direction to kind of help us, because as I've reported, we are talking, we are this year under a block grant. We're not getting the reimbursement grant. The state still has not even told us what the change will be. So I can't even tell you what the difference will be this year. But anything, I think that can be done to continue to support our students and with grant money would be effective.
So my question on that was, we kept getting asked for money, but nobody could tell me how this was really going to affect us. I heard some really enormous numbers, and then I heard some, oh, it's not going to be that bad, really. So that is why I asked for you to give me some sense, because you were that guy when I asked you that. You weren't our superintendent, but I still think probably you're the one to give me those answers. Yeah, and I don't know, maybe you don't have the answers, but I was really hoping for some, some money figures, I mean, I kept hearing that it was gonna be over $1 million next year if we didn't continue to support this lobbying, and I don't know if I'm for it or against it, because I don't know enough about it. All I hear is that we're lobbying. So that's, I don't know, maybe we don't have those answers, but that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, no, and I do apologize for that. When I, as recent as just last week, was asking, the AOE was asking Stacey Alexander if they had heard anything. I think I even queried Flora, and
Yes.
we've been constantly told, we'll get back to you as to what the impact is going to be on us, which it's unfortunate, but I think it speaks to where, the state is still trying to figure this out. Again, when the calculator was available, depending on what numbers you put in, you could get these wide ranges. And every time I kind of put it in and tried to use conservative numbers, I was coming in the $1 million range for the entire SU. And that's less grant money being, so we used to get a reimbursement grant, so it'd be $1 million less. And it could be anywhere from like 800 to 900,000, but I'm using $1 million as a round number.
Okay. Jack, you had your hand up?
You're muted, Jack.
Question's been answered for me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so there's no action really to be taken on that. I was just looking for, I want to stay up to speed on that. So, anytime there's an update, I think that we need to be there.
As soon as I hear, I will let the board know.
Thank you. All right, we are on 8A, new business for discussion. Jason Terry has asked. Yes, ma'am.
Molly, before we go on to that, I think Jason had a question for Whitney.
No, I'm good, Molly.
Are you okay?
Good.
Okay.
Moving on.
All right.
Next play.
Sorry, go
Okay,
ahead.
8A is discussion on homecoming and whether we should ask the school to let kids from other schools go to homecoming. I gotta tell you, this isn't a board thing, but it's here and Jason asked for it, and I'm trying to let everybody have their time. Jason, speak, please.
Thanks, Molly. I'd like to make a motion that I'd like kids to be able to bring a boyfriend or girlfriend from other local schools in our local area. Mr. Broadley, and I'd like to speak at that motion if I could.
Go ahead, you got the floor.
All right, so Mr. Broadley had mentioned that there's just a handful of kids. And the one thing that we haven't talked about is the social or emotional piece that COVID is hurting kids, especially homecoming is outside. And you, any day of the week or any weekend, you could go up to the football field, soccer field, field hockey, you name it. And there's kids, running around without mask on, and everything's great. And you should see the smiles on their faces, and it's like the world is back to normal. But then, then to throw this at them with, so it just doesn't make sense to the kids where, we're saying no mask on outside, mask on in schools, but now homecoming's outside and we can't have a handful of kids bring their dates. So, and they did the same thing at prom as well. So they had prom this past year for only Bellows Falls kids. So believe it or not, New Hampshire's only 4 miles away, and some kids date other kids from New Hampshire or other local area schools. So I'd like the board to somehow help with that.
I would like to offer an amendment, Molly.
Go ahead.
My amendment is that, in addition to Jason's motion, that it stipulate that any non-Bellows Falls attendee produce physical proof of vaccination, the card.
Jason, do you accept his friendly amendment?
My only thing with that is we're not, if you go to a Friday night football game, we're not asking kids from other local schools to produce a card. So, what's the difference?
May I respond to Mr. Terry's query, Molly?
Sure.
I'm addressing the chair, of course, and I would simply point out to my esteemed colleague from Rockingham that those kids at the football game probably aren't dancing with each other.
He's got me, check me.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor that's been amended, which says any a Bellows Falls student, repeat it for me, Jason. How do you want this worded?
I'd like kids to be able to bring boyfriend or girlfriend from other local schools in our local area. And then whatever David's,
With physical proof of vaccination.
yeah.
So there's a motion on the table for kids to be able to bring local kids to homecoming as long as they can produce a vaccination card. When is homecoming?
This Saturday.
Wow.
So that ought to happen by Wednesday. Can I put that in there, David? Can I amend your amendment?
I would like to respond to you in an indefinitive fashion, Molly. I think in much the same vein that we're not collecting the admission fee until individuals show up for the event. Perhaps they could have their vaccination card in one hand and their money in the other. But I would not oppose it if that smooths the waters.
All right, I'll drop it, but I brought ourselves up here. Move on. Right, you've had your hand up.
Oh, me?
Oh, sorry.
No.
Deb, right, are you there? Yep.
Yeah, I just like to move the question. That's what I like to do.
I'd like to hear from Mr. Broadley first.
Yeah, I just like to chime in on this. First of all, no disrespect, but a school dance should not be a board decision from what I factor and what I've seen in the past. We follow a lot of we follow a lot of policies. Whenever there's any issues in school, we always look at policies. Having a dance is not one of them. We also rely on volunteers of faculty to chaperone such a dance. And I'll tell you now, if this motion gets passed, there will be no dance because we won't have people to run it. So I realize there's one or two, and to those one or two, this is really passionate to get their partner at this dance. But I don't get control it. I control it from the school point, and I'll certainly be there to help out. But I know for a fact from the staff that they're concerned, and we've had a talk about having the dance, and we've got chaperones based on BFUHS students. All the students up at a football game, I don't see any of the, if it's a football game, away fans, they're certainly not dancing with our kids. All our kids are dancing together or playing together. They're all in the same cohort. They all go to school. They're all in town here. So there's a lot of differences, but we are considering the social well-being of our kids. And certainly, that's all I can say. I mean, we can't have a dance if we don't have people to run it. So, and again, I'm not objecting to other opinions. I'm not taking my own opinions. I'm taking all the factors into consideration. And as I say, a dance should not be, from what I read, unless I'm wrong, it's not governed by board policy. It shouldn't be something we're voting.
This is not a board issue.
I know that.
This is not a board issue.
Molly, can I respond to Mr. Barley?
Sure.
Point of order, I
Somebody
asked to move the
spoke, but
question.
But
Yep.
we still are having discussion.
Here we go.
And you have to you can't move it until we vote.
But this is ridiculous, so.
May I respond to Mr. Barley? Molly?
So Deb has asked to move the question. I'd like to call that from everyone first, because I do think that we haven't had enough time, and there's people who got things to say. So do we want to challenge Deb to move the question, or
I would
move the
like to
question?
challenge it. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Molly, I just want to say that I don't,
go ahead, Jack.
this belongs to the purview of the school. We are overstepping. I want to move the question because I'd like it to die. Thank you.
Molly, I'd vote no also.
I don't disagree with you, Deb.
I wanna hear what's being said. I'm voting against moving the question.
Jack, what do you got?
Okay, couple of things. One, I think that with all due respect to Mr. Broadley, I think that policies that involve encouraging people to get vaccinated probably does fall within our purview. But I too have this evening gotten emails, shall we say, from people who are right now laid out to be chaperones, and have made it very clear to me in their communication that they're not planning on chaperoning anything that extends beyond our immediate school community, because they don't know those folks. And I think that Mr. Broadley's objection, as much as I would really like to use this as an occasion to encourage people to show their vaccination cards and get vaccinated, that's a real concern for me. And I'm sort of inclined to support Mr. Broadley on this reluctantly, because I do think it is anything we can do to encourage vaccination is something we should try to do. I'd be actually in favor of only letting vaccinated kids attend the homecoming dance. But we have volunteers, and if they're not willing to volunteer, unless the board is willing to show up in mass to do it themselves, which we've done once or twice, I think that the volunteers get to call it.
Molly, I have a question. I'd like to respond, please.
Go ahead.
I just want to know, for the chaperones, Mr. Brother, do they live in New Hampshire? So what's the difference?
I don't know all the chaperones who are doing it. I'm not sure if you'll know, but.
But you said that they're not going to willing to do it. They
The
live in
ones who talk to me are local folks that actually live within the supervisory union. And I won't go into it beyond that because I don't think it's my business to.
No, Jack, I was asking Mr. Broadley, not you.
I don't know all the chaperones, but I believe most live within our district.
But
I will find out for you that answer, but I don't have that right at this moment.
But you understand what I'm trying to do. I mean, I don't I can't believe we broke out a thing of Footloose here. You know, it's just, we're talking about dancing, and we're being very insular and myopic. And when you made this decision, it might not be a board policy, it might be your policy, but I don't think you looked at the whole scope of thing. And that's my fear, that that's what we're doing as a school. It's like, it's the same, I don't want it to turn into the same regime that it was. So you have a great opportunity here. So.
I care, if I can respond to that, Jason. I care 100% about our kids and their welfare. I have no obligation to kids who aren't here. I am a human being. I do read as much as I can read, and I try and make informed decisions. But at this time, I believe for our kids' mental health, etc., and because it's a small amount of kids, that I really think that and again, based on faculty as well that have chimed in, who are volunteering their time to do this, I think that, again, no decision is ever 100% true, but I think the decision to have BFUHS kids only at this dance for now, at this time, within the pandemic, the end of the pandemic, whatever you want to call it, is the right thing to do for our kids.
I respectfully disagree, and I
understand.
You know, you can say what you just said is you only care about our kids.
I care about our kids.
Correct. So that's very myopic of you.
Ian Spartolilli, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I think it's amazing that the school is going to have a dance at all. I think the kids are extremely fortunate in the current situation with the COVID, the way we're not clearly at the end of the pandemic. It's very much the middle at this point, as we're getting case counts that are higher than we've seen the entire time COVID's been around in Vermont. So, you know, my sense is that if these kids who want to go to a dance with their partner from a different school, then they can go to the one that their school, that their, you know, girlfriend or boyfriend school throws. My guess is that they're not going to have a dance, and that we're fortunate to be taking this opportunity and making it happen for our students. And I'd say it's a risk as it is. And then finally, if possible, I'd like to just call the question.
So that's twice it's been called, and I'm going to call a question, but I'm going to let Whitney speak first.
Whitney? Can we hear from Whitney?
Yeah, if you let me finish, that's what I was trying to do.
Sorry.
I'd like to hear from Whitney, and then we're calling the question.
My 2 cents. In the school system, we have it's a very controlled system. You know, we have seating charts. We know who is where. We know where our close contacts are. We have electronic passes to know who is in what restroom and when. We know who's in the library. It's a very controlled environment. And this past week, we just started our screening testing, which went very well overall. I think we were all very surprised how well it went. And so, I mean, our little school community, we have control over this to some degree. And I mean, just look 10 miles north, they're blowing up, you know, and like I said, there's nothing more than I want for my own children, let alone our entire school community and everybody around this country, around the world, just to get back to normal anybody who says that they have not suffered some sort of, depression or some sort of, mental anxiety over what's going on in this over the last 2 years, they're nuts. And I really want our kids to get back to some sense of normal. But as Ian pointed out, we are definitely not out of the woods yet. And I want to just creep back into normal slowly, take it slow. I want to take baby steps. These are our kids. We know our kids in our community. We know what's going on at the community level. Even, a half a mile to the side of us over in Walpole, I don't know exactly what's going on over there. And with these kids, I don't know who these people are. They can present. I mean, there's a thing on the internet now, guys. You can get fake COVID cards. Like, this is ridiculous. This is the point of insanity that we're living in right now. We know our kids. We know some of their vaccination status, and we've been following the rules, and I am busting my butt to keep our kids as safe as we can. And I feel like, again, this is just, I don't know why we're fighting this so hard. Like, we are so lucky to be able to be doing something to get back to normal. And, everybody keeps talking about the football games. When kids are and community members are watching a football game, they're mostly sitting on their own side around people that they know. They're staying in their cohorts. They know who's vaccinated and who's not. It's a controlled environment to some degree, and this is just opening up the floodgates. And my question to you is, again, after X number of hours of overtime, who's going to do the contact tracing when this blows up in our face? And I'm not saying I don't want people to have their dates here. I mean, I can't imagine being a high school student and not having my date here. That would stink. But I mean, we got to understand, guys, that this is again something else that we really have to control. Baby steps. That's my 2 cents. Baby steps. Our students only. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor to allow Bellas Falls students to invite non-Bellas Falls students to the dance this Saturday, as long as they can bring their COVID vaccination card. I'm a roll call. Deb?
Can we amend that? Can I amend it?
Sure.
I would say, how about if we amended it with the staff finding out how many would be involved if it were limited enough for them to feel comfortable doing it, and that way it's leaving it more up to them.
It's already up to them, because if they don't. Go ahead, Deb.
Point of order, this question was called. It's a little bit late to be asking for another amendment on top of an amendment. We haven't even voted on that amendment.
Well, actually, if she's going to end it, a point of order, she has to call to see whether we agree to end it, and that hasn't been done. So I do have time to amend it.
There's an amendment on the floor. You can't amend an amendment that hasn't been voted on.
2 levels. And it's actually incorporated. So
there is an there is an amendment on the floor. And so I felt that was the motion. But if we need to vote on the amendment first, if that's how you guys think you're doing it, then we'll do that.
I'm going to ask.
Jason, did you accept that as a friendly?
And that is to query the maker of the original motion as to whether he did accept that as a friendly amendment or not.
Which one, Priscilla's?
No.
Thank you. No.
David's.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
I thought you did, but okay, so we have a motion on the floor that is allowing Bellas Falls students to invite students from another school to the dance this Saturday, as long as they can produce a COVID vaccination card.
And I amended it to add, if the administration determines that the number is limited enough so that they are comfortable with allowing them to attend.
But we've called the question twice.
But you
I think
didn't
we can
vote
accept
to call it.
amendment.
You have
If
to vote
anybody
to call
tells
it.
me we can.
Who accepts
Okay, so let's-
her
let's
amendment?
vote.
Who has to accept her amendment? I don't even know.
You don't have to accept it if they don't
Jack,
want to.
can you
but
help me?
it's on the floor.
Yeah, okay. The way this would have to work is, first we have to clear Deb's, motion to move the question, which we've not done. So you have to poll the board if we want to move the question. So you got to do that. If Deb's motion fails, then Priscilla's motion can be brought up. I would caution Priscilla that the principal has already said he's not comfortable with adding, making that kind of determination. He's basically already made it, but you can certainly bring it back up. But first we have to have a yes or no, are we moving the question? And if that fails, then we can bring up Priscilla's. If Deb's motion passes, then we move to the motion per the friendly amendment. It was a friendly amendment, right? So it's basically Jason's motion as amended. So there you go. So first, shall we move the motion? It's privileged, so we have to vote to move the question. Molly. Does that help? Molly, you're frozen.
Point of order, except Jack, we voted against moving the question, so.
Well, we actually never did.
Never
That's the
did.
thing. And that's why we have to formally do so. Molly has not called the roll on that point, so she needs to do that, and then we can move from there. Molly, you want to call the roll for us, and so we can kind of clear all this mess up?
Yep, I lost you there for a minute. My Wi-Fi went nuts. All right.
Okay,
Deb
so you
called the
got to call. You
question,
have
we
to
need
roll call
that.
calling the question.
Here we go. Deb,
Okay, that means, do I want to call the question or no?
Yes.
Does that, yes or no?
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
this is ridiculous.
Jack,
Yes.
Ian,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Priscilla,
No,
Brenda,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Margot.
Yes,
Okay. Question is called. We have a motion on the floor that is to allow any Bellows Falls student going to the dance to speak, as long as they can supply a
physical proof of vaccination.
oh, here we go. Deb, yay or nay?
Nay. Did you get that, Molly?
Yeah, she's frozen right now.
I think you're right, yeah.
Molly, if you can hear us, if you turn off your video, that might help. Oh, no. Oh, no. Do we don't have do we have an assistant? Or a
An assistant.
No, I'm just trying to think who can. Deb, are you the co-chair or the?
I don't think so.
I'm assistant.
Priscilla is? Okay.
All right, go ahead. David,
I vote yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Brenda,
Yes.
who else here?
You know, like Molly's coming back.
I'm back again, sorry.
All right,
Can you hear me?
Jason, David,
Stan-
Brenda have all voted yes.
Jason is yes. Brenda is yes. David is yes. And who else?
Those were the three yes. We had one no, Deb. Jack, I don't know, Jack may have voted.
No, he
Jack
didn't.
has not voted. Margot has not voted. You have not voted, Madam Chair. And that's kind of where I think we're at.
Ian hasn't
Ian has
voted.
not voted.
Are you with us, Molly?
Okay, Ian, how do you vote?
I vote no.
Okay, Jack,
Reluctantly, no. I'm changed my mind based on the on what I've heard from the folks who had chaperoned this.
okay, Jack, okay.
Margot?
Margot,
I'm voting no based on administration decision and as well as the fact that I feel like it's not within our purview to be voting on this.
Or unmute yourself by pressing star 6.
So we lost Molly again.
I think I'm on.
Molly,
Hold on.
For the record, Molly is on.
Molly, how do you vote?
She's just trying to figure out, she's the phone and her iPad, so she's trying to figure that out right now.
No.
Okay. And I voted yes, it's 5-4, so the motion failed. The motion fails. Okay,
I made it through almost a whole meeting before all that nonsense happened.
okay, Molly, the motion failed, so if you want to
All
go
right.
back to being in charge.
Thank you for covering for me. The only other thing we have under new business is, and it doesn't have to be taken care of tonight, but we need a WNESU board member. I've kind of been a floater in that, and I guess I don't mind being a member. I get a little nervous that I'm spreading myself too thin, but I'll do it until I tell you I can't do it anymore, unless somebody else wants it.
Thank you.
Is there another member that is just itching to be on that board?
Molly, this is Jack Breyer. I think that it's really important to have all the board chairs be on it. I think it really helps the process. So I'm thanking you for taking it on, if you don't mind.
Okay. All right, we're going to items for the next agenda. All you gotta do is email them to me. I don't have a calendar in front of me to tell you when our next board meeting is. We'll send out an email. Now we don't need an executive session that I'm aware of, so we're gonna go to director's comments. And I'm gonna start with Deb Wright.
Okay, didn't think I had anything to say, but at the moment I just have 1 minute of conversation or less, which is this kind of micromanaging is what the board's problems are, and which cause additional angst with everyone else in administration. And lastly, why people don't run for these seats. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Jack.
Basically, just to reiterate two things. One, we really must talk about budget in our next meeting. And two, yes, I think it's really important for us to stay in our lane and remember that we guide policy and overall supervision, but we are not the experts. We are not the administration, and we need to be humble about what we know, what we don't know, and what we should be involved with and what we should not.
Thank you. And I apologize for not, I got flustered, I guess, with that last motion, and I forgot to even ask you about the budget, but we'll put it on next time. Ian, you're up.
Just want to second what Deb and Jack have said about not micromanaging this administration. Thanks.
David?
Well, Deb, I certainly don't know what I don't know, but what I do know is we now have a situation where we will reject the possible attendance of students who can demonstrate that they've been vaccinated in favor of what I would refer to as Bellows Falls exceptionalism, where we will be perfectly happy to allow in Bellows Falls students who in fact may not be vaccinated. I think that when you view it strictly from a public safety standpoint, that is not a wise approach to take to prom. But it's the approach that's been taken, and I certainly support the majority in supporting their administration on it. However, I also happen to believe that policies, whatever the board damn well says policy is, and I can't think of a more important local issue in this community than how we're going to pull off a prom.
Brenda?
Yeah, we've experienced a pandemic. We can't agree where it came from or how to mitigate it. It seems like one size doesn't fit all when it comes to human beings in clothing fashion, or medical diagnosis, medications, and side effects. But somehow we think that herd mitigation is better than herd immunity. I mean, we have so much conflict, and yet we think we can control things that we can't even control. And even in our control, we're scared, or we're expecting something bad to happen. But I don't know how the control has been working for us. The mask obviously doesn't work, or it wouldn't be an issue or discussion. The vaccine obviously hasn't been working. And now there's other things that are coming to us that will have to be put in place. So I don't know, it's just interesting to me. It seems like we're all conflicted in this situation, but I am so very glad that the students are getting a dance and that we're back to school.
Jason?
Thanks, Molly. Yeah, I think, listen, I don't want to micromanage anybody either. These people make a lot of money, but from time to time, they make bad decisions and they drag their feet. You know, it's been a year we've been dragging our feet on the HVAC, and we're finally going to get something going. You know, so they do need help. There's no doubt they need help. So you can call that micromanaging, call it whatever you want. But I can't believe we won't let kids go to a dance even if they're vaccinated. I mean, that is the cure-all, right? That's what everyone says, vaccinate, vaccinate, vaccinate. And we're not gonna let those kids go. We want, you know, we want masking forever, it seems like, no matter what the percentages are. And we never even tried to take off the mask after 10 days. That was what we decided. So no matter what we decide, it sounds like they're gonna do whatever the hell they want anyway. So at what point are we actually in charge? Thank you.
Margot?
I wanted to just extend my appreciation for our school nurse presenting this evening and offering some thoughts about some other things that the schools might consider in order to help alleviate some of the added burdens that are on our nursing staff. And I don't know, you know, at what level some of those considerations might be appropriate, but I would, you know, highly encourage the staff, the administration to think about ways that we might help share the burden in some of the work that's having to be done in the schools I don't know if there's good solutions, but maybe putting brains together would help. That's it.
Thank you. So I'm gonna take a line from David Clark, and David Clark and I, sometimes we agree to disagree, but
Molly,
he's
did
been
you
on.
want to go first, or did you want me to?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I had missed you. Go ahead, Priscilla.
That's okay. And that's why, if you wanted me to, it was okay. That's why I was just making sure. Okay. I don't look at it as micromanaging when a parent comes to the board and asks for consideration for, something that they feel that they disagree with the school for. That's not micromanaging. Micromanaging would be if we decided ahead of time and made the decision. So I would encourage the administration and the teachers at the school to look at the possibility of maybe these vaccinated kids being allowed in, since it's outside and it is similar from that standpoint. But I do also respect the ideas that it may increase the possibility of contact tracing. Although if this student is vaccinated, the definition is that if they are vaccinated, they are not considered a close contact. That's by our state guidelines at this point. So that might be a consideration for the staff to look at. I wanted to get a shout out to all of our teams. We heard one going by, having one tonight. I know the football team was supposed to be facing a really tough match last weekend, and they won 56-0. So if we can keep that up, we're looking at a really fantastic team there for the rest of the season. I was able to also attend a field hockey game this week. Wonderful after, being able to see some of these, and they won. The varsity was 15-0, and I think the JV was 5-0 maybe. Anyway, they did a fantastic job, both teams. I'm looking forward to maybe visiting some of the other games that are here at home and seeing some of the other teams play. Looking ahead to improving in this COVID situation. I know there are a lot of scared people out there. There are also people that are, like Whitney pointed out, avoiding wearing masks at this point. People come in to get shots at the local pharmacy and don't wear their masks who have never had shots. So I know there are people not wearing masks that are not vaccinated. So it is scary for a lot of us as we sit here being vaccinated and worrying about it. And those parents are out there worrying, but they are also, like Whitney said, wanting to get back to normal so desperately that, some of this stuff has to go by the wayside. And luckily, people that are vaccinated, for the most part, are not getting sick enough to end up in the hospital. So encouraging those vaccinations is important. Looking at the new grants that are out there and possible for the percentages being really high for our students to be vaccinated, please look into that. And maybe we can qualify for some of those grants so that we have money to let the students plan maybe another dance down the road when the things can be relaxed a little bit, and some other activities. Thank you. Be kind to each other.
Thank you. So I started to say, David Clark, a lot of times, especially when I was first on the boards, one of the things I don't know if he knew he taught me, but he kind of taught me was he would always kind of veer towards what the administration suggested. And that, I think, on items like this, that's where I feel. Yeah, I get it. I had system, and if this was going on, I'm sure there would have been some very non-understanding nights at home, but I sometimes it's just not a place for the board to to stick their hands in. And I did my homework a little bit today because I had a little extra time because I'm on vacation. So, you know, I was able to kind of wrap my head around what really should we be doing, which made me feel a little more at ease tonight to know that we were doing what was right. And I totally agree. I hope this can get a control and then we can move on and these kids can start really enjoying things. I appreciate everybody's time tonight. Sorry, my Wi-Fi was a little funky, and I'll see some of you on the third day. Have a good night. Meeting adjourned.
Good night.